Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however, wherever, and whenever you may be listening. Welcome to episode
45.
Episode 45. We're getting close to 50 week by week here of the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. As always, joined by me, Pirate Peyton, Nathan Schivins to my left, Jake Bell to the far right over here, and we have our special new friend here, the Pitt Panther expert, we like to call him, Joey Delie. Shout out, what's it called? Panther Lair. He has the best questions on Panther Lair,
That's
which is
kind
of how we discovered him. SportsCom, you're a sophomore, right?
Yeah,
SportsCom sophomore here. And we're just so excited that Joey gets to join the podcast. And it can't come at a better time with the backyard brawl happening this week. Pitt, a 7.5 favorite against West Virginia.
Folks. Stay away.
On the road. Joey, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk ball.
We're gonna talk ball.
Very nice.
Actually, Joey is near me, lives close by here to me, so we're kind of like neighbors a little bit.
Yeah, like a 10-minute walk.
Yeah. So, but first, before we get into the brawl and everything, and there's going to be a lot of chatter about this Pitt team, what we've seen, what we've liked, and what we haven't liked so far. We got to get into our reaction to Week 1 of the NFL. First, we have to talk about our Steelers sneaking out a typical. Well, it wasn't a typical Steelers game, but it was a typical Steelers win in that they got outplayed, and yet they somehow found a way to win.
And they got a turnover that proved to be pivotal.
Tomlin loves the turnovers. That's all he cares about. We win the turnover battle, we're going to win the game. So, Nate?
Well, that defense looked incredible. Just incredible this weekend.
They certainly were incredible. That's one way.
They were incredibly
bad.
Futile. But I would expect it to change. I mean, it can't get any worse. I would expect it to be better. Now, people are saying, hey, you got to cut them some slack a little bit. First game for some of these older guys that the Steelers brought in the offseason first, because they didn't play preseason really at all for most of them. So I can understand that a little bit, but it does bring up an interesting question here with this Steelers defense. Can Darius Slay stay as one of the two main corners? We know for sure Jalen Ramsey's going to do his thing. He definitely proved that on Sunday. I didn't have worries about him as a football player and age or anything with him, but it's like with Darius Slay and some of these other guys that they brought in, and Cam Hayward. We had a funny thing. We were missing Cam Hayward. Have you seen him? Because for most of that game, him and the whole D-line was kind of lifeless. And they got pushed around in the running game. And there really wasn't that much of a pass rush to be heard of throughout the game. And they often broke contain as well with Justin Fields. You knew he was a runner. Oftentimes they didn't have a spy on him. And he ran that goal line play. I mean, you had to know that Justin Fields was going to be an option on that. And he ran as wide open as he could be into the end zone. So there's some concerns there. But again, I think there's the offense played a lot better than I thought they would. I think and everybody thought they would. And the defense played a lot worse. So I think there's a little bit of coming back to the pack we're going to see, especially this weekend, I think, against Seattle. I think the offense is not going to be as lights out as it was, although Aaron did a great job. I was very impressed, honestly, because...
How can you not? Although PFF, they weren't impressed.
They were not.
They gave him a 58.9.
That's insane.
They gave him the same grade as Broderick Jones.
Yeah, insane.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
It was
was
about the same
Yeah,
grade.
it was about the same grade. Yeah.
I don't look at PFF. I don't
We're done
associate
with
with them.
We're done with them.
But yeah, I mean, no, he did everything he needed, and for most of the plays, he actually had a really long amount of time to throw the ball. There were a couple times where Broderick Jones in that left side kind of broke contain, but if you watch all the big plays that the Steelers had, he had as much time as he needed to get those throws off. And Calvin Austin was running wide open.
I don't know about all the time in the world.
Yeah, there was oh yeah. I don't think you watched the tape, buddy.
I watched the tape.
It was wide open.
There were guys wide open.
Yeah, they were wide
open.
open.
when they were open underneath, it was a lot of short stuff.
There were some out routes.
Luckily, he got the ball out in time. I mean, he was, you wouldn't see it, but he got hit after plays a lot too. Not only also being sacked.
I agree.
4
I'm not
times.
saying it was, but I'm saying the plays where guys were open, he had as much time as he needed to stand in there and make the throw. That's what I'm saying. And so there are some pause and everything, and I love the Calvin Austin in the second half really stepping up. I think I've been high on him as he could be that wide receiver too that the Steelers need. I think we haven't seen the best out of him in his career yet. Still, obviously, his rookie year he got hurt and he was out that whole time, so he's still trying to grow and learn as a wide receiver. It was interesting though, the big guy missing in the wide receiver plans, Roman Wilson. Where was he? He was also missing, nowhere to be found.
Completely missing.
I don't remember him in the game much at all either. Like I don't remember seeing him on the field very much. Because they did do a lot of 2 tight end sets, and they had some 3 tight end sets with Darnell in there. He was in there a lot on that left side to help out with Broderick, but Broderick needed a lot more help than that it turned out. But so that kind of took away from Roman Wilson's snap count, and that'll be interesting to see. Like, is it a practice thing? Is he not performing well? And it'll be interesting to see. Like in this game against Seattle, is he gonna have a lot of snaps? Like, what is that and is he going to get targeted? Because Aaron was hyping him up, in the preseason and everything. Was that just talk? Or is he actually pretty good and they just didn't find opportunities for him? So that's kind of my takeaway. Again, I think everything's going to come back to the pack a little bit with this team. But it's
come back to the pack. I like that saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true. It's what's going to happen, I think. But I would love for the offense to stay up here. But there's going to need to be some major improvements on that O-line because they're going to face some really good pass rushes coming up. And that Seattle defense is no joke under Mike McDonald. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens this weekend because I could easily see a Seattle upset, not going to lie. Like I could see Seattle coming in there and kind of mucking it up and making it a defensive slugfest. But
I think we all thought that was going to be the case this past week. So you never,
I definitely
you never know what's going to happen.
To start the game, it was like drizzling. It was like dark and cloudy, and I was like, "Yeah, this is like what it's going to be." And then it was just Justin Fields running the ball, and Justin Fields launching it down the field and stuff. So
I knew it was bad when the first 2 runs, it was like an 18-yard run and like a 10-yard run right away.
It set the tone. They really did.
Yeah.
That was like, well, this better be bad.
And that's been the main issue with the Steelers' defense is good offenses in general, but teams that can run the ball and have good running backs. We saw this at times last year, and then it finally got exposed at the end of the season. Like there would be drives last year, like teams would just run the ball the whole drive, and it seems like nothing's changed. Go ahead. Who else wants to? Jake Bell?
Yeah, I'll go. So every time I look at it, I sort of give the Steelers the benefit of the doubt defensively. Like you mentioned, Nate, some new personnel, getting some first looks at defense to start the year, but also Justin Fields has been around at least the personnel defensively for the Steelers, so at least he has an idea of Tomlin and Terrell Austin's game plan. Even though the personnel might be a little bit different, I feel he felt comfortable knowing exactly what they were going to do. As for Justin Fields, like you can make that same argument with the Steelers. Well, how did the defense not know how to attack Justin Fields? But if you look at last year with Justin Fields, he was utilized completely different under Arthur Smith than he was last week whenever he was on facing the Steelers. So it's just a whole different scenario there. I mean, we saw Fields truly look like a dual threat out there, and it kind of caught the Steelers off guard because, as you guys mentioned, the run defense hasn't been where it should be, considering that the Steelers are one of, if not the highest paid defense in the NFL. So that's also a little bit of a concern. But offensively, like I know the Steelers threw the ball a lot because they're playing catch up basically the entire game. Even though whenever they had the lead, it seemed like the Jets answered. So honestly, like this might be a hot take, and I know Arthur Smith would not like this, but I would rather see the Steelers pass over 50% than they would run. Like I know we see them run just because the offense looked better. They were scoring points. I know Jets secondary, whatever, but like I still feel like Rodgers looked good. Like he played an NFL defense. It's not like he was out there playing a college team and he threw for 4 touchdowns. He's playing an NFL defense at the end of the day. And he played pretty well. Like I thought, other than whenever he was getting a little bit flustered with a lot of the pressure he was getting a few times, like he looked pretty solid out there. So I'd rather them explore more plays where where he can throw the ball, then, I like Jalen Warren. I think Caleb Johnson could be good, but we didn't really see him in that game.
Yeah.
But I just don't think any of them are dominant to the point where you can make the excuse that we need to run the ball heavy. And I think Arthur Smith realizes that, hopefully, and maybe explore some things. Like, we know that he likes Jonnu Smith a lot, and I feel like he's going to be a big part in the passing game, especially.
How about that was such a classic Arthur Smith, Jonnu Smith love affair play call at the goal line. The Pitt, that's the only offensive coordinator in the league that would run a pitch, a motion pitch to the tight end at the goal line.
It was beautiful.
Would be Arthur Smith, but what Jonnu Smith is one of the fastest tight ends in the league, and it's something you wouldn't expect. When I saw that happen, I was like, well, what in the world is this? But it worked. I don't think that's something you would do all the time, but I don't have anything against it.
To be fair, though, with Jonnu Smith last year with the Dolphins, he was like the top receiver last year because Tyreek Hill was struggling, Jalen Waddle was nothing. So he did a lot of short passes because he was a yak tight end. He's not really like a Gronk. He's not like any of those or like a Kittle. He's a yak tight end. We're gonna give him the ball and get it in his hands. So
yards after catch. If you don't know what yak, there's rack, yak. Is there another ack? I can't remember.
I actually don't.
All of them have none of them have vowels after the first letter, so like you can't really.
Well, actually, rack and yak, run after catch, yards after catch, it's the same thing. Anyway, let's. I want to talk about the front seven. Look, we could talk about Rodgers and the receivers, and how great they were, and I think it's great that the Steelers actually won a shootout. It was the first time in 6 years, I believe, that the Steelers won a game where the other team scored 30 or more points. So if we're getting back to scoring points and passing the ball,
last year against the Bengals, at the Bengals,
I don't think they scored 30. I think
it's a good. No.
That was at Acrisure that they won, right?
2 years
ago? No,
with Mason Rudolph. You talking about that game, mate?
No, Russell Wilson last year.
Russell Wilson. What was the score in that game?
Wasn't it like 40-something to 30?
Oh, you're right. You might be right about that.
Well, then it was maybe.
I'm sorry
I might
to
have
discount your point.
I might have the wrong stat. Then.
I was just like, because I saw people say like we haven't seen this in years. Like, well, Russell actually did it a couple of times, like against the Commanders. He did a pretty good job too.
Jalen Warren cooked because they would do short. They like the top.
Yeah, but this was different. It was different because it was big time throws in big situations on third downs. I mean, it just felt different with Rodgers and these receivers. It just, and the way the ball comes out of his hand, it felt different. Now, he needs to be a little more mobile with this. The thing is, with this offensive, he said my back was hurt because I wasn't as mobile as I'd like to be, which may be slightly true because I thought he moved pretty well at the end of the year last year with the Jets. But, I mean, I think this is kind of what he is. And with this offensive line, I have major concerns. But I want to talk about the front seven. This highest paid defense, they're probably going to have better games. I'm not saying that. But what happened here is a disgrace. You cannot make Justin Fields look like Lamar Jackson. And you cannot have Breece Hall, I like Breece Hall up. You cannot have him looking like Derrick Henry. First of all, let's talk about these linebackers. Patrick Queen is a disgrace. I've talked about this. He can't do anything right. He's not good in pass coverage, and he cannot stop the run. If you see him trying to get off blocks, he's constantly trying to get around blockers instead of trying to go through them or inside on them. He is not aggressive to the point of attack anymore. All of these blockers are. They are not stopping the run. Peyton Wilson, I like a lot. I think he's very decent in pass coverage for the most part. But he said this year, I need to get better at stopping the run. Well, they ran the ball at him all game long. All game long. And now you sacrifice $3 million to pay Malik Harrison $7 million instead of giving a Landon Roberts $3 million. He was our best run stopper. And now Malik Harrison is on the IR. They have no linebackers because I don't know what Cole Holcomb is. He barely played. They have nobody who can stop the run at the linebacker position. As far as the defensive line goes, Cam Hayward, as I have kind of thought, he's going to have a slow start to the season because, again, he was not focused on football this training camp at age 36, whatever he is. Because at that age, you need to be focused. Aaron Rodgers, to his credit, when he came into training camp, he was all about ball. Like, he was all about ball. And the results showed. Cam Hayward wasn't all about ball, and the results show. I think he'll get better, but he's got to stay healthy, and who knows if that's going to happen. The biggest issue, obviously, Isaiah Loudermilk was in, right, and he's a backup. What are we going to do there?
Yeah.
We miss Derek Harmon a lot, but I think the biggest issue. Yeah. Why is Keanu Benton at nose tackle? He is not a nose tackle. I think he's a good player, but he is not a nose tackle. You have Y.A. Black, who put up one of the best preseasons out of anybody. He's easily your biggest defensive lineman. He should be at your starting nose tackle. I don't care what round. And Tomlin has a thing with rookies being drafted. Oh, we got to let them sit on the bench. I don't care what round he is. You have to have him at nose tackle right now because Keanu Benton he's not big enough. You got to have Benton. If you have Y.A. Black at nose tackle, Harmon and Hayward, and then you have Benton rotate with Harmon and Hayward. That's how you got to. That's how you got to get this D-line right. And another thing, I like Alex Highsmith, but they ran to his side all game. Where is he in the runs? You're paying him $17 million a year. It's just a lot of underachievement, and that is my main concern with this defense. And I think that's going to be the concern all season.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing about Y.A. Black because that's where I thought you were going. Yeah, we talked about this too. Like there was no reason he shouldn't have played a lot more in this game. I mean, he should have been in there more. Preseason for those young guys has to mean something. What does it mean? Does it mean anything to you? Like they always say, like we're looking for guys to make the roster, to prove it. And Y.A. Black, he proved it in a big way in the preseason, and he's rewarded by sitting on the bench for most of the game. And so I agree, Peyton. I mean, I think that would have been a big thing. Now, Highsmith, he did have a big sack in the red zone. I think he was rushing the passer a lot more, and he just wasn't, I think he should have shifted his kind of focus a little more to stopping the run when it was apparent, in obvious running situations as well, because I think he just kind of rushed the pass almost every play, and they weren't getting, at some point you're not getting to him. They're gashing us in the run game. Let's take one of the things away instead of rushing the passer and not getting there. And there's a wide open guy running down the field, or you hand it off and it's big lanes on the left side for Breece Hall. So I agree with that. And that will be a question because obviously there's the excuse, like I said, about the secondary, new guys in there. But, I mean, the D-line for the most part is established. And I understand Cam Hayward too, but that is the more concerning thing, I think, to me. Because that's supposed to be the anchor of that defense. It has been for the Steelers for such a long time, and it just got gashed. It set the tone, like you said, Joey. Immediately, those two big runs. Now, what's your secondary gonna do? That's Cam Hayward, that's T.J. Watt, that's Alex Highsmith, Keanu Benton. You gotta do more there for sure.
To be fair for Highsmith, he did have 8 pressures, and it was funny. Watt and Highsmith were kind of opposite. Watt was doing amazing in the run game, but he did not get a lot of pressure. He got 2 pressures. That's solid. But for Watt, his standards are higher, and Highsmith was doing really good pass rushing, but the run stopping, it was not good at all. Anyone on the team, on the defense, linebackers, D-line, Benton was getting double teamed and getting dominated, and the holes would be so big.
Well, if you go back to that defensive line, another thing, how you guys mentioned about Cam Hayward, not being all about football, I really think that hurt, especially the interior defensive line where they really struggled stopping the run because that's still a young group. The interior defensive line is Cam Hayward, and then you have Keanu Benton, who's still, this is second, third year, so he still needs some time if he wants to succeed. And then you have 2 rookies whenever Harmon gets back. So Hayward, it really you need him to be that mentor because that interior defensive line has to be good. You invested heavily in the front 7. The Ravens ran down your throat up the middle the entire game in the playoffs, and that was the biggest address of need. You need Cam Hayward to step in and kind of speak with his actions in a certain way. With him holding out, wasn't really interested in coming back to play football until really the last second. That's going to be a negative thing for the Steelers because these guys are learning how to be pros. They're looking at this guy who has done it for a while and arguably is going to be a Hall of Famer whenever it's all said and done. But you have to speak with actions instead of with what's going on. I think that really hurt it. But we'll see though. It's still going to be some time. These younger defensive linemen still can learn. It's only been 1 week, so we'll see. I'm sure Cam Hayward will be good this season, but it just hurts, especially throughout preseason. That was the case, and it's great to see. Yahweh Black, I forget his first name.
Pronounced Y.
I can't pronounce his first name, but but he could have been a 3rd round pick in a different world.
He was number 1 on the board.
Exactly,
for a while.
and he fell 1 or 2 rounds. So I mean, that's a guy that can be good, and he did well in the preseason, but unfortunately they just didn't have that mentor for long enough. So hopefully we'll see what happens in the regular season.
He actually missed a sack on Fields on one of those plays. He actually had him. He wrapped him up, and Fields got out of him. So he almost got his first sack last week. But
I like him a lot. I mean, how can you not like that guy?
He played a little bit. He got a decent amount of pressure, but again, he's young, and the run defense, it was just bad the whole throughout.
And it's just guys out of position. We see this all the time with this defense. I talk about Keanu Bennett. He's just out of position. I think he's a good player. I think he's just out of position. So hopefully now Nick Herbig is coming back.
Yep.
And he's a guy who stops the run at the edge position. And I think that's where him and Highsmith kind of balance each other out.
Jack Sawyer didn't really play.
He did play. Sawyer played.
Yeah, but not very. I didn't notice. He didn't make any noticeable for me.
No.
But yeah, that'll. And I just want to mention too, Watt. It was kind of frustrating, I think, for Watt too, because on these run plays, because he knew it was getting. This is what he does, when the run defense is not doing its job. He'll just burst out trying to get to the running back, but there were a lot of times
they would play at the goal line. They played him in the middle.
Yeah,
they play him at
but there were times Breece Hall be running and he's trying to catch him from the other because they're running to the left and he's trying to run after him. And he just misses getting to him. So it'll be a big key against Seattle.
And this is another good running team. It's Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet. That's a great duo. Now, you don't have to worry about Darnold's legs as much, which I think that's a big issue. That's whenever I thought for a while that the Steelers were good at stopping running QBs, but lately that has not been the case at all. They have not been keeping contain well enough on guys like Fields and Lamar. But you got to give Fields credit. I think he made some really tight throws, but you got to find a way to confuse him a little bit in the passing game. But he didn't need to pass all that much because all they had to do was run. But we do need to talk a little more about this offense. The run game, I wanted to talk about what Jake Bell mentioned. The run game was very mid, and that's kind of what I expect. Now, this can't be like 2020, 2021, where Ben was throwing the ball 40 times a game. But 40-plus times a game, and there was zero run game. We got to have some run game.
There will be.
I want this to be a more up-passing team. This is Rodgers. Last year, you have DK Metcalf. Calvin Austin really, I think, is looking very good. You got to let him sling the ball. But you do need to get Jalen Warren's got to show something. This offensive line, Broderick Jones, we don't need to get into how bad he is right now. It's bad. And you're going to be facing even bigger pass rushes, especially this week. You face the Browns pass rush as much as the Browns are bad. If you face Myles Garrett, you're going to have to face Micah Parsons.
Hendrickson, too.
Twice a year. Garrett twice a year.
Myles Garrett, he looked really good last week.
He was on back-to-back sacks.
I am very, very nervous about Aaron Rodgers staying healthy with this. I mean, he's going to get killed. I mean, and I just don't know how many hits this guy could take without a serious injury happening. And I hope he shows a little more mobility. But, I mean, he had good pocket presence, good pocket movement, but you have to kind of get away.
Inside the pocket.
He's just not outside. Rodgers is just slow. He's
not
his old self. He's obviously still has the arm strength, has the arm, but he's just not. He can't move it like he used to. I also want to mention Arthur Smith had a great game plan, but his biggest issue was giving Kenneth Gainwell more touches than Warren.
Yeah,
why is that happening? Why
that's
is
a
Kenneth
typical
Gainwell?
Arthur. He did it in Atlanta with Cordero Patterson and Bijan. He did it last year at times with Cordero. These guys, these special teams running back guys.
Yeah,
Kenneth Gainwell forced that fumble, but he's not a guy.
I don't want to
all the
bash him.
carries.
Maybe as a third down back, but Warren is actually a really good pass pro blocker. Why are we not using third down? He's a good pass pro blocker. Why are we not running with him? He's our most talented back. I like Caleb Johnson. We haven't seen enough yet. So, but as of right now, Warren is our most talented back. Let's use him. Let's not get carries to Kenneth Gainwell.
And don't get me wrong, I like Gainwell. Like he made that great play in special teams. Like he's a football player, but like you mentioned, like he should not be getting more touches than Warren.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Warren. We can say he more benefited being with Najee Harris because Najee Harris was more like the ground and pound type guy, and then Warren kind of opened that up. But you still want to see more of him. You want to see if he could really take that next step, and unfortunately, we weren't able to see that. And like we all mentioned, like they had to come back a lot from deficits and stuff, but still nothing was really established. And while I do want to see them throw the ball more than they do run the ball, they still have to establish something with Jaylen Warren. And you got to assume that Caleb Johnson gets there eventually. But like you guys mentioned, like I've mentioned before, I feel like it's going to take a couple weeks before we really get to see what Caleb Johnson can do, just because the Steelers, they're very patient with their rookies.
Well, they're a little too patient, and what concerns me, if he's not a better runner than Kenneth Gainwell is. By the way, he coughed up a ball on special teams, Johnson. If he's not better than Kenneth Gainwell as a back right now, I don't care that he's a rookie. That's a concern. That's a concern for me. And you just, to your point, Jake, you just paid Jaylen Warren. Yep. Let him prove. If you don't think Caleb Johnson is ready, you got better hope that Jaylen Warren is an RB1, and you're not giving him that opportunity. I think that's a great point. Like that's an issue. That's a big issue. And he's a guy that we know can be a good pass catcher, and Rodgers is going to need those checkdowns, and especially with pressure in his face all the time.
Also, 2 years ago, like we had George Pickens, but when he went against that Browns, he was our most explosive weapon. Like 2 years ago, he had that 75-yard run against the Browns. Like he's a good back. You got to give him carries. He's not a home run hitter, but he's probably our most explosive back.
He has the potential to be a home run hitter.
Yeah, exactly. He's our most explosive back. Let's use him.
Yeah. Yep.
He reminds me a lot of Isaiah Pacheco, just the way they run. Like they run really like aggressive and hard. But unfortunately, that's also subject to injuries eventually. But like. It hasn't happened to Warren yet.
Not yet.
So we'll see.
Well, we got to talk about some other games. We got to talk about, first of all, the Ravens losing somehow. It was my lock of the week if you check out our shorts. I think it was both our locks of the week.
Yeah, last week I didn't even.
Controlling.
Whatever week.
Controlling that game. Starts until the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Derrick Henry has a fluke fumble, which you never see happen. And then they missed the 2-point conversion to tie the game. And they have the most conservative 3 plays. They didn't Lamar and Henry didn't have the ball at all, really. And they just punted the game away. Like they punted on that last drive. And then they decide to play dime defense, very soft coverage against the Bills in that final drive, and they just let him go down the field for that field goal like it was nothing. Just a very, it's becoming a theme now for the Ravens in the regular season and the playoffs to have these games in hand, to dominate the stat sheet and somehow lose. And at some point, when does that fall on the coaches? I saw a stat. Now this is a correct stat that Lamar, in games in which he is up 7 or more points in the fourth quarter, is 55-9, which you would think, wow, that's great. But it's really not. If you look at Jalen Hurts and Mahomes, they're like 60-1 or 66-2, or I don't know what the numbers were. But like they continue to choke these games, and it's a problem. It's a cultural issue. You're not going to be able to win the big games in the playoffs if you continue to do this. And I feel like it falls on the coaches, because the Ravens right now with the Packers, I think, have two of the strongest teams on paper right now. And based on how they played for most of that game, I predicted that the Ravens were going to run the ball over Buffalo, and I was right, because Buffalo's defense they're mediocre with Sean McDermott. That they are what they are, and they're carried on the backs of Josh Allen. And so, yes, the Bills was an amazing comeback. The Ravens choked, but it's the same issues with both of these teams, and it's why they don't take that next step to get to the Super Bowl.
I want to give credit to Ed Oliver on that Bills defense. He looked amazing. He was really good. He's been a D tackle, has been kind of the same level, kind of like just really good tackle, but he's never took that next step. and now he's injured. But besides Josh Allen, Ed Oliver probably had the second best game and second best performance.
Well, Keon Coleman
rest of
did
their
pretty good
defense,
too.
That's true. I don't know.
I remember the early in the 2018 season, there were talks that it was going to be Nick Bosa or Ed Oliver, like as the number 1 overall pick before Kyler Murray, turned her, but like still, he's a guy that has high level talent. So.
And also, like, he forced that fumble, and he also got a huge sack in Lamar. So he was had a really good performance. But yeah, Josh Allen was out of his mind in the fourth quarter. He had 250 yards, 3 touchdowns.
He had more yards in the fourth quarter than Aaron Rodgers had in the whole
insane.
game. And we thought Aaron Rodgers had a great passing performance.
He's just really good. Josh Allen is just like, it's crazy. We have 3 elite quarterbacks.
Aaron Rodgers, I'm going off topic, but because I gave a bad Steelers stat earlier potentially. I know that it's one of the few games where they've scored 30 or more and won the other team. So like that was like, so maybe it wasn't in 7 years. I don't know, but I do know that it was 7 years. It's been 7 years. Like he had the highest passer rating of a Steelers quarterback in like 7 years. Aaron Rodgers did, and he was just so efficient. He didn't have like big yardage numbers, but that's all we need for him is to be efficient and to make the big time throws. But anyway, back to the Bills. Right?
Actually, can I guess? Was it Big Ben against the Panthers? Was that the last time that happened? Because 7 years ago.
Well, it was passer rating.
Is it week 1 passer rating, or is it?
No,
like,
it was
in general?
passer rating in general.
Okay.
I think Russ last year against the Bengals had like 126, and that broke it. And I think Aaron surpassed Russ, or Russ was like second to one of Big Ben's performances, and then Aaron passed Russ and Big Ben. I don't even remember.
Okay.
But
that's the only one that came to mind because I know the Steelers blew out the Panthers.
That was a 50 burger.
That was it was a crazy.
So the Ravens again looked exactly like I thought they would through 3.5 quarters. Right, I thought the Ravens at full strength. I think they're the best roster in football. I think this offseason they got even better, obviously adding DeAndre Hopkins.
How about that catch by DeAndre Hopkins?
It was a great catch.
I forgot about it.
Zay Flowers is still receiver 1 though.
Well, yeah.
I remember seeing all the I know it's
what's
week
the
1,
deal
but like
there?
I remember seeing a lot of fantasy experts saying, "Oh, Zay Flowers, don't draft him," and then he puts up the most.
You were
yards.
telling me.
That's why I said that. I have Zay
You were
Flowers.
saying don't draft Zay Flowers.
Well, no, I wasn't even talking about pay. I was talking about Instagram, whatever I was watching.
Yeah, my friends were like,
so.
"That's a horrible pick." Why? Right, friends and cousins were like, "That's a horrible pick. Why you take Zay Flowers?" I'm like, "He's good."
Yeah.
That's why. So that's why I said that. But yeah.
But so the Ravens roster is superior. I think we saw that. I mean, I think for the Bills, this is like a game where it's a win, but it's like really like we saw with the Broncos, like it's a win, but you have a lot to work on still. Like the Bills got to figure out what's going on in the secondary because we got random people in the secondary, and Derrick Henry's like annihilating them.
Well, yeah,
He's just destroying their character.
They look like kids. Derrick Henry made them look like children. Their entire defense.
Their safety duo, Cole Bishop's solid. He's a young, good player. And they also got Taylor Rapp, who's been like lead.
Yeah, Cole Bishop. He got Derrick Henry humbled him a couple times. Very disrespectful.
And then their quarterbacks are like what? Benford, I don't say his name. Brentford, and is White on that team?
He's hurt
White?
though.
Is he
hurt? He went back to Buffalo and he got hurt in camp, I think.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think who their corners are, but yeah, I know Brentford or I think it's Brentford.
Benford,
Is it Benford? Whatever. But he's solid. But yeah, they need more talent on that defense.
I just think Sean McDermott, as a defensive coach, just hasn't. You're supposed to do more with less. With when you're paying your quarterback as much as they are, and he's not. They hasn't done that. When has he stopped a big team? I don't know. I don't know about Sean McDermott. I don't like if they don't make it to the championship, if they fall short again, I think they got to reconsider who their coach is. I don't know, but hey, they won, so I can't say too much.
And like I mentioned last week, it's always better to learn from a win. And luckily for the Bills, that's what they're able to do.
And especially for the Steelers, because it was sour that they gave up that many points to the Jets. But if you lose to the Jets, that's just you can't start on the foot losing to the Jets. And they're very lucky that they won that game. I thought the Jets looked like the better team. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and but the Steelers find ways to win organizationally, and the Jets tend to find ways to lose.
I
don't know why I keep going back to this.
Going back to Steelers and Jets. After this we'll be talking about the Ravens Bills, but they the last 8 or 9 games, that defense has averaged like 27 points per game. That's pretty concerning. Like if you look at the last 9 games,
it's not good. They're against the big. I mean, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and then the Jets.
And they're usually really good at the beginning of the year, and they just fall. Like they go be worse and worse because of injuries and our age. But like the thing is, like hopefully
maybe this year it'll get better as we go along.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I think the offense will get a little worse by each week, like a little worse.
Well,
like never like horrible, but they'll get a little worse. But I think the defense will get a little better. So I think it'll be like average. I don't know.
And I thought it would be the opposite. I think the offense would get better. And I think this offense, we're going to see some bumps in the road because Aaron isn't going to be able to make all these throws with the offensive line with Broderick Jones. Like, Aaron can't be great every single game. Like, I just don't see that happening. And, I mean, if it wasn't for Aaron had to be perfect in that game for us to win, and he was. I mean, he did throw a couple.
No, he was 24th and among quarterbacks. Actually,
he threw two. He almost threw 2 picks, but other than those 2 throws, I mean, he was perfect.
I just don't think this defense is what it used to be. I think it's not.
And it's
top
not
5.
good. That's not good.
I think it could be top 8, and I'll be totally fine with that. It should be top 5 defense how they're paying it. I don't think it'll be though, but I think the offense will be. Maybe I'm hoping top 15 at least.
It
that's
needs
all we're
to be.
hoping
Yeah, it
for.
needs to be.
And then
for
top
sure.
8, and then they'll probably be a playoff team.
But you're
like,
paying this defense so much.
I'll still be criticizing unless they're number 1 or number 2 because that's how much you're paying them to be in an offensive league, and they're continuing to be 10 years behind the 8 ball.
I'll say this: Ramsey looked good, and also they should blitz him more. They should.
I will. You know what? I'm glad you. I was going to say this and I forgot. Why? Steelers social media went out and said, Patrick Queen said this, although what he says, you just
really
goes one ear out the other because it doesn't matter. But he said, we're going to be getting back to Blitzburg. Where were the blitzes? If your front 7 is struggling to get pressure on the quarterback, you should be bringing more blitzes. And time again, every year with Tomlin, we don't see a lot of blitzes. We don't see a ton.
Well,
at the end of the game, we did. And I think that helped a little bit, but...
Well, they had Ramsey blitz in the second quarter, and it was just a weird play. He was coming from really far up in the secondary, and he ended up missing. He didn't get to Fields. Fields tosses it right to Breece Hall, who Ramsey ran past, and it was a big gain. So I think they were concerned about seeing that. But back to the Ravens, as we talk about the Steelers for an hour. I don't know what it is with that team. Just like... 15-point game. What 14? What was it? 15. 15 with 5 minutes left. And for me, it's a John Harbaugh thing.
It has to be. What is the explanation?
I understand the turnover and everything, but the play calling
came down to that.
The play calling on the Ravens' last drive was so conservative, and you heard on the broadcast. Chris Collinsworth was saying, like, you got to go for it on 4th and 3, like where they're at, because you did feel like if you're going to punt it back to the Bills, the Ravens aren't going to stop them.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So, I mean, I just think John Harbaugh, like, at the end of games, like, we talk about some of these other coaches, but remember he used to he went on a 2-point conversion spree for several years.
Yeah, he did.
When it was like, you don't have to do that.
For the win. Like,
yeah,
for the win against
and
the Steelers.
they wouldn't get it every time.
Mark Andrews dropped it, like, I think, like, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but they wouldn't, like, some of the play call, like the one against the Steelers was just a terrible play call, too. Like, just every time they wouldn't get it. It was just...
Well, also, the Bills went for 2 a bunch of times, and they didn't need to the first.
But yeah, that was confusing.
They should have waited. They kept going. I'm like, I understand you're down, but stop going for 2 here.
And Tyler Loop missed an extra point.
He did miss an extra point.
And that's what cost them the game. But I can't blame the kicker here.
Well, yeah, that's a good point about the Bills too, but because that was just one of the dumber things I've seen. I don't understand why coaches do that when you're down multiple scores and you go for 2 early.
Why are you chasing points?
Instead of getting it to 8 or something,
so many coaches
and then going
do that.
for it.
So many.
Also, the Ravens not going for it. It was 4th and 3 at the 45. Did you mention that?
Yeah, I was. Like at the very end, like you gotta.
Why did they punt it? Their defense was not looking good. Go for it. You've been a ballsy coach before. Like you've been going for it, and you didn't.
The one time you need to be.
Well, the thing that people don't really realize is that say the Steelers aren't first round exits like most of the time, the Ravens that would be their that would be what they're known for eventually because if it wasn't for the Steelers, who knows if the Ravens will win a playoff game? So, which is weird to think, but But really, like, if you look at the track record with Lamar Jackson, I mean, Lamar Jackson, he did make it to the AFC Championship once.
Yeah.
I believe only one time.
They should have won that game.
they-
They should have
yeah.
beat the Chiefs.
They
just-
turned the ball over
Zay
500
Flowers,
times.
and I mean, they were the better team. Like, I generally think that 2023.
Well, their play
Ravens
calling
were the
was
better team.
horrendous in that game.
But either way, like, that's just the narrative that now with Lamar Jackson, with John Harbaugh, like, you know, I mean, it's just something that's a big concern. And Lamar Jackson, you could make the argument is the most talented quarterback in the NFL, but at the end of the day, like, if he's not winning these big games, if Harbaugh can't outcoach, like, it's not going to work, unfortunately.
And you can't blame Lamar. I mean, you can't
yeah.
get rid of Lamar.
You can't.
You gotta-
No,
you
you
gotta
can't
get-
at
Yeah,
all.
But I think they just gave John Harbaugh an extension, didn't
Did
they,
they?
recently?
I don't know.
Almost certain.
We love
So-
extension.
people are like, if he doesn't make the Super Bowl or like makes so far, like want to like show consistent, like that he's actually gonna take the next step, people want to fire him. Like I've seen like
Tomlin gets extensions after getting blown out wild card games, so he should be safe for a while.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention Keon Coleman again because that's a big story, I think, for the Bills because they've been looking for that kind of bona fide wide receiver one since the whole Stephon Diggs got a
Saga.
controversy and saga. And Keon Coleman showed a lot, and he had some really nice catches. I think Khalil Shakir's a nice player, but I think he's more of a like really good too.
slot, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big development. Obviously, James. I think the Bills will be fine, but I do like for the Ravens, and we just saw what the Chiefs look like. The AFC, this could be the window closing for the Chiefs. Now, I'm not writing them off yet. I'm not writing them off until it happens. I've been steadfast
here,
on that.
yeah.
But if there was ever a year here, the Ravens like this with this roster, it's go time, and that's why I agree. Like Harbaugh could be on the hot seat if they really underperform.
And don't get me wrong, I think Harbaugh, if he does get fired, will get a job right away, just like Tomlin. And it's the thing is just like the playoffs. It's like you got to win big games. Like Tony Dungy with the Buccaneers. He was at the Buccaneers, didn't win any games in like 2000. They won playoff games. They were losing in the first round. They traded for John Gruden. They won a Super Bowl. He went to the Colts and won the Super Bowl in what, 06?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just, and Andy Reid too, the Eagles.
Exactly.
Change the
Sometimes-
scenery.
That does
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because
Change the scenery.
you're considered a good coach in the league doesn't mean he's untouchable. Let's see what other games we want to talk about. You mentioned the Chiefs, the Chargers, Justin Herbert,
Yeah.
an incredible performance. This was a Chargers team last year that didn't have a lot of success in the passing game. Obviously, we know what Ladd McConkey is. He looks like the next Cooper Kupp kind of guy. But then what was most surprising, Quentin Johnson, he did have like one bad drop, I think.
Yeah.
It was a tough catch, but he looked like what they drafted him in the first round for. And their defense was their defense last year was good. That's a huge win. That's a game the Chargers, like, they control, and then the Chiefs kind of tend to come back and win. And I know it was in Brazil, and that was a little weird, but that was a big game for Justin Herbert. And people are talking, like, could Justin Herbert be a sneaky MVP candidate this
If he's
year?
throwing the ball, I think so.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
he's throwing the ball. I also want to say something about Quentin Johnson. The thing about him is people are hating on his rookie year because he had a bunch of drops. And yes, he does not. He
And
drops a lot
this
of
is
balls.
his third year
It's
now
his
in the
third
league,
year, but
yeah.
here's the thing. Receivers take huge leaps third year. If you look at it. If you look at Nick Collins, if you look at Antonio Brown, and those receivers, Julio Jones, that third year they take a huge leap. I think he could do that. I don't know if he will. But he had quietly last year at 7 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's a pretty good year. And yes, he was a first-round pick, so there's higher standards. But that's a quietly good year, especially when they weren't passing. So I'm hoping that he has a good year because he got a lot of hate, and I hope he just proves it wrong. I hope he's a good receiver.
Well, look at it this way. The Chargers drafted a second-round receiver, Trey Harris, this
Yep.
year. So that's also, pressuring Quentin Johnson. Like, hey, this guy could take your spot eventually if you don't ball out. So fortunately for him, he got, 2 touchdowns?
Yeah,
I believe-
2 touchdowns,
yeah,
5 catches,
so-
like 74 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Another one is Herbert looked really fat. He looked really good. He looked like running the ball too. He looked like super athletic. Like last year, I knew he was injured. He looks like actually healthy this year.
It's a good point. Yeah, he was that run to seal the game.
Yeah.
That was like he looked really, really good back to like when he was a rookie in second year when he was healthy.
And as far as the Chiefs are concerned, look, 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, they were 11-6.
And no one.
And they lost some close games. Last year, they won every single close game. So for that to happen again is just so unlikely. So they're probably going to lose. They're not going to be a 14, even a 13-win team this year. Unlikely. And they may lose their division, but they're going to be a playoff team no matter what, I think, as long as everyone's healthy. Obviously, losing Xavier Worthy hurt them, but Hollywood Brown stepped up big time. Xavier Worthy isn't a season ending. He'll be back in a couple weeks, hopefully.
I think he's practicing.
He is practicing,
yeah.
but I don't think he's going to play this week.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get Rashee Rice back. This is a big game for them this week against the Eagles, but it's a good bounce back spot. They are at home. And you don't want to go 0-2, but if they did go 0-2, like, I wouldn't be too concerned. And now their defense is normally shut down, and they weren't.
No.
But you have the best defensive coordinator in the game. Like, I'm not concerned about the Chiefs, but they're just, it's bound that they're going to lose some one-score games this year. That's all I'm saying. So, and I think that's what that proved. And good for the Chargers. That's a big win for that organization.
Big win because they usually don't win those games.
No, nope.
But now with Jim Harbaugh, they look pretty. Jim Harbaugh's always been a good coach.
I mean, it's a change of culture.
Horrible.
That's what it is. So.
Any other games that come? I don't know. Atlanta.
Well, we
Big
gotta
time.
we gotta talk about this podcast's favorite quarterback, Danny Dimes. and his
I am telling you.
against a hapless Miami team that has given up. They had a team meeting, maybe a players-only meeting already after 1 week. He looked great. Will it continue against the Broncos this week is the question.
That will be a good test for Jones because the Broncos defense is a whole different story than the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Dolphins
story.
defense have no corners.
Mm-mm.
They're starting like Storm Duck, Rasul Douglas, like that's their starting cornerback room. And then they got Minka, but they lost Javon Holland.
They got nothing.
Oh yeah.
They got nothing. But the Falcons, I thought, had a chance. They
always blow
find
games.
ways to lose. This is why I have a problem with this. Like, they have the quarterback. I think. I thought Bucks defense is
solid.
But they're missing. They're banged up right now.
Are they banged up?
They're banged up, and they still could only put up 20 points. And it's just they find ways to lose.
And they had they got the touchdown opening drive too, and they just
Bijan 55 yards.
And when they got that 4th and goal, they got that touchdown. It took them like 2 down to go situation. Like it was so hard for them to score at the goal line.
Yeah.
It's just this Falcons team. I want to believe, but it's just I can't. It's just you can't blow that game. That would have been a good stepping stone for them.
I think they're a team that just wins like 8 or 9 games.
That's like I have.
That's about
yeah.
That South, the NFC South is just not that good. You got the Bucks, who I think are pretty good. I mean, their defense didn't look amazing, but they're also injured. But you also have Emeka Ibuka, and you have Mike Evans,
and Chris Godwin will be
will
back.
come back, and you got Bucky Irving with Baker Mayfield. That offense could be legit with Emeka coming in and looking already really good. But yeah, I think the 8-9 win team. I mean, I like Drake London, I like Bijan. The defense is young. They have Jalen Walker and what's the dude James Pierce Jr., who's also the young edge rusher duo. So they're a solid team. They're young. So we'll see.
Yeah, they drafted 6 first-round edge rushers.
They traded their first-round pick next year to the Rams.
For a guy, and that's why I was like off. I just think they're a little off in how they do business. Raheem Morris, I'm not that high on. James Pierce Jr., they give a first, and he's had a lot of trouble off the field, and you give up a first-round pick next year to get a second edge rusher. It just feels like they're chasing. And I didn't like that much at all. I want to end our NFL talk talking about what occurred on Monday Night Football between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
We got to talk about that because, I talk about how the Steelers organization finds ways to win somehow and the Jets find ways to lose. Well, I could say the same thing about that game.
Yeah.
The Bears organization, they just organizationally, I mean, it's just a mess. I think they got the coach. I think the coach is right, but Caleb Williams, I'm so high on Caleb Williams, and it's just not looking like that's a game. Your quarterback has to guarantee you a win there. Your defense shut them down for 3 quarters. You got to find a way to win. And his accuracy at times is such an issue. And I think it's going to drive Ben Johnson insane. It's going to drive Ben Johnson insane.
He was already looking very frustrated.
Wow.
And when they were up 17-6, you get one more score, the Vikings, like J.J. McCarthy, you're done. You know what I mean? You don't give them any hope but they kept getting stops at Vikings defense. Credit Brian Flores. You kind of figured at some point it would happen, but
Caleb, to his credit, put up some good plays, had some good drives against a tough Vikings personnel, and one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. But like, there was stuff open. But then you can make the argument Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive minds in the league, and that's a game you gotta win. They had like 80 yards of offense late in the third quarter. The Vikings. Your number one overall pick has got to win that game, and we're in a league now where number one, these quarterbacks, they don't get 5 years anymore to develop. You have to be good in 2 or 3 years. And tick-tock on Caleb Williams because Ben Johnson isn't going to have the patience for it.
To be fair, I think the O-line did not look too good. Like, I know it's a new O-line, so they got to get back to it. But, like, I think that O-line should be good, but they didn't look so great against the Vikings.
I got to think I got to blame Caleb. I mean, there were multiple. That fourth down early in the game.
That's true.
DJ Moore's wide open. He's, like, leading them, like, 10 yards up. Like, I don't know where that throw's going.
I kind of want to talk about J.J. McCarthy real quick.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say he lit the world on fire because in the first half he certainly didn't. But I will say that guy does not give up. I mean, he's a winner. You could see you like. There's a reason why they named him a captain, and he hasn't even taken a snap yet. Like this is a guy that, and there's also a reason why they moved on from Sam Darnold too, right? I mean, this is a guy that he wants to win. You could see it. Like he's a guy that really feels like he motivates his team. I mean, whenever O'Connell congratulated McCarthy at the end of the game, you could just see the team's reaction on that guy. Like he's a guy that I'm rooting for. I'm very curious to see how he develops as a quarterback because we know at Michigan it was tough to tell because they were so run heavy. I mean that opened so many holes in the passing game. So that's where you have some questions. But it seemed like whenever the Vikings drafted him, they did a lot of research. They did a lot of talk with him. And they probably felt that if anyone were to outwork any of the quarterbacks in that draft, it would be him. So I'm very curious to see what his development is because, I mean, after that pick six, a lot of like this, I consider this his rookie season, even though it technically isn't. A lot of rookie quarterbacks after throwing that pick six like that, their whole mindset that completely changes because you question yourself a lot. But he came back and he won that game. And I know you mentioned about the Bears the Bears franchise as a whole, but like. You're still coming back against an NFL team as a first-round quarterback.
A defense that was dominant.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I have to give credit, though, to the Vikings offensive line because they were getting pushed around, and then all of a sudden something changed, and they were running the ball. And I want to give J.J. McCarthy credit, but Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason looking like a decent duo there. They're the ones that got that offense moving and set up J.J. McCarthy for some – he made about – 3 or 4 big throws. A couple of those were pretty easy throws, but hey, the kid hasn't.
But Caleb didn't make the easy
exactly.
throws.
And the kid, J.J. McCarthy, I'm not too high on him as a prospect, but you like the attitude. Obviously, he's in a good situation with a good coach, but you have to remember he hasn't played football really in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So for him to come back and face that adversity and win that game shows a lot. I mean, it was. It shows a lot. I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. It was kind of reminded me of like a Kenny Pickett type of game with the Steelers. Like do absolutely nothing.
That's the
for
best compliment
quarters.
you can give someone.
Okay.
Kenny Pickett is a winner.
He did win a championship not too long ago. But so I think J.J. McCarthy, you got to give him credit. And look, I didn't think he lit the world, he looked outstanding from a passing standpoint, but he won that game. He came back, and he's with a good head coach who can develop all sorts of quarterbacks. So you can't hate it. And he comes home this week in a primetime Sunday night game against the Falcons. So it's just kind of like a wait and see kind of thing. But you gotta like the facing the adversity part.
I got nothing to add.
You got nothing else to add?
I think that was
you guys all said it. I mean, JJ, something kind of flipped in that fourth quarter, and it was encouraging to see because I certainly didn't expect that. It was just as disastrous as a performance as you could get through most of that game, and so credit him in the end. And that's a game like that. We talk about great organizations. The Vikings have become one of the great organizations. Kind of like the Ravens, though, they haven't had that recent playoff and kind of Super Bowl success.
They never have, the Vikings.
I know. I'm saying that's why I said recent.
They made the 4
Super Bowls.
in the
They've lost
70s.
all 4.
I think
yeah.
70s or yeah. either 70s or 60s.
Well, all right. Any other games? I think that we covered.
Well, do we
want
to quickly look at some games this week, or?
Well,
I mean, we could do that with our picks, right?
I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think go
That's
to
true.
our YouTube Shorts page. We're gonna have in our TikTok, Instagram.
Can we talk about what do we talk about? What about the Packers? Can we talk about the Packers from last night?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
real quick. I mean, I don't think there's much other to say here other than that me and Jake Bell were correct on how good this Packers team is.
Okay,
how
don't rub
good
it
this
in.
defense is.
Don't be rubbing it in.
And Jordan Love looks on time, in rhythm, and you have a good number one back like Josh Jacobs. I mean, the sky's the limit for this football team. And I know they were glazing Micah Parsons big time last night, but this whole defense as a whole is very, very, very good. And Micah just makes them elite. And I think the guy from Boston College, I think, is a good play caller. And you just got, I mean, you could say what you want about Washington and Detroit, but those were the two of the best teams in the league. Lions obviously were last year, and then Washington had that playoff run, two of the better offenses on paper, and they shut them down. And you have to give credit for dominating those teams at home like that. And I think talk about a step in the right direction. This Packers team is looking like easily one of the Super Bowl contenders.
I've changed my opinion. The Packers are winning the Super Bowl.
I want to give credit to a cornerback and T-Son Nixon, who had like a 90 PFF grade, had like 4 pass deflections. I mean, the weakness of that defense is the cornerback room. Like, you lost Jared Alexander. Obviously, you look at the Ravens game, he wasn't that good, but still a starter for them. Who's other corners? Keyshawn Nixon. I don't know the other ones, but like that's the main one I know. But like their cornerback's like the weaker because they have the Xavier McKinney.
They have the safeties. They have Xavier McKinney and some other guy that they drafted, I think. I can't remember. But
Bullock.
Yes, Caden Bullock.
Caden Bullock, and then the cornerback's the weakness, and he looked amazing. And
Kirk Herbstreit said it last night. Like, yes, we're talking about Micah Parsons, but their secondary, you got to give a lot of credit. In total, you count the safeties and the corners. They have 6 DBs right now that they can kind of rely on. And they're missing some guys, I think. They were saying they're still missing some guys on the defensive side of the ball.
Isn't Bo Melton like cornerback like 5?
I'm not exactly. I don't know their personnel that well.
Wait, wasn't he a receiver?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember
I
from
don't know if he's
Rutgers.
on. I could be wrong about that because I don't look at the Packers that much, but he might be on the 2 deep. Could be wrong about that.
But I do kind of want to talk about like the Packers, like with Jordan Love and everything, because like it just proves that having your quarterback sit for like a year, like that's not the worst thing in the world. Like other than Trey Lance, like the most recent cases of quarterbacks sitting a year that worked out, like Jordan Love and Mahomes. But I mean, you don't really see that many other examples. But like if you just look at the pedigree of those two, if Love can take that next step, I mean, like look at all the most famous busts in NFL history. It's always a quarterback on a bad team getting rushed in a bad situation because their head coach is probably nervous they're going to get fired and they want to have their best option out there. It's other than like, Jaden Daniels, who that actually ended up being a very good situation. We had no idea it would be, but like you just look around the league and how that's very much the case. And it's shocking to see a lot of these teams aren't really realizing that because like, especially if you have a project at quarterback. Like Anthony Richardson to me is the biggest example of why you don't rush a quarterback. So like it's cool to see Jordan Love, who in my eyes was a prospect coming out of college. He didn't have the best of I think he was a junior at the time whenever he declared for the draft. He didn't have a best last season aside like the season before he looked very good, but his last season there's some question marks and
he threw like 15 picks.
Yeah, at Utah State, right? So like you could say, oh, this is a guy that needs time to develop. Well, luckily the Packers took him in. He got to learn from an all-time great. Like sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world to sit a quarterback for a year or two, and Love has proven why being patient is very key.
I was very high on Love coming out of college. I said he was going to be better than Burrow. That did not age well, but I've always been.
But it didn't age awfully.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's just unbelievable, and it just speaks to we're talking about great organizations hitting gold on Brett Favre, then Aaron Rodgers, then Jordan Love. Yeah. It's just like
patience is key. That's why Aaron Rodgers wasn't the first-year starter.
And when they took Aaron Rodgers, it was kind of a shock. Yeah, and when they took Jordan Love, it was kind of a shock. The thing about Aaron Rodgers, they were ahead of the game with the quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. They were planning ahead, and that's what got the Steelers in trouble is that Ben retired and they didn't know what to do. They didn't have a plan.
And they knew very well that was going to happen. And
Right.
unfortunately,
The worst quarterback class.
yeah,
ever.
And unfortunately, Pickett became the PR move because it was Colbert's last draft,
Right.
which is a shame. But it's the reality because it didn't seem like the Steelers were interested in developing a rookie quarterback, knowing Tomlin's love for getting veteran quarterbacks that can play.
And now
in the
you have
system,
Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. So
which is crazy.
yeah,
Who would've
it's
thought?
hard to believe that's
But
happened.
we're gonna
Yeah.
get a quarterback next year, and it's gonna be
We'll
John
see.
Mateer.
John Mateer, interesting.
That is
He needs
interesting.
to.
We're going to get
improve
into
the
college
passing a
football,
little bit.
but Nate and I have talked about this. Through these first 2 weeks, I'm like, everyone's talking about how great this quarterback class is. And if the Steelers are going to be competitive, wait, let me finish. And if the Steelers are going to be competitive, right, they're going to be in the low 20s. Like, I don't think this quarterback class is as great as people say. And I don't know if there's going to be a quarterback where the Steelers are drafted. And I don't think there's going to be a guy that they're going to be willing to trade up for. Like, I don't know. So there's a lot. We still have a lot of games left to be played, a lot of tape to watch, a lot of games to be played. But we'll see. But let's not. We got it. People are like automatically assuming the Steelers are going to take a quarterback next year in the first
Lamar
round.
Sellers.
But let's just pump the brakes for a little
I
bit.
think another guy, underrated guy from Baylor, Sawyer Robertson. He's looked like
on Sawyer.
he's looked like the best quarterback, I think in general in college. Because like Lenore Sellers, he's not been passing. It's been special teams for South Carolina. If you look, at
he
Cade
doesn't look
Cublin-
great as a
If
passer.
if you look at Cade Cublin,
he stinks.
struggling. I mean, Drew Aller. I'm not a Drew Aller fan because I'm a Pitt fan, but like he's a good quarterback, yes. But like I don't know if he's that guy. I mean, I like the guys like John Mateer and Sawyer Robertson. They might not hit what they're supposed to be. Like they're not projected right now, but I think they could be big risers, especially Sawyer Robertson. He's a strong arm. But
Interesting.
Gotta
I'll have to
watch
look out
more,
for that then.
So I gotta watch
Well, he
more
was the guy-
Baylor
he was-
football.
Well, he
Yeah.
was the guy who threw 450 yards
Yeah.
this past
Yeah.
week.
Wait,
And
wasn't
last
that an
year he had-
overtime win, or was that the week
Against
before?
SMU.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
SMU.
They
Okay,
came back
gotcha,
down
gotcha.
14.
Yeah.
I think he could be the guy that hopefully I'm a fan of him. But yeah.
Interesting.
Where were we? I forget where we were.
We were talking about quarterbacks
College
Before
football.
that.
in the class. We were talking about the
about
Packers. Jordan Love.
Yes.
I think
They're very good. I think we could move
finished that.
on.
Yeah, I think we finished
Yeah.
that discussion.
I think it's time for the backyard brawl.
Yes, it is.
That's why
Brawling
he's here.
time.
That's why this guy's here. So we're gonna get into it. Joey, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, like
Preview this game. And
you
let's hear about this Pitt team. What are your impressions thus
Okay,
far?
so against the CMU game, our D line I think looked.
Not CMU, not
Not
Carnegie
CMU?
Mellon.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry,
Central
Central Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, Central Michigan. I think the D line looked really good. I think Isaiah Neal, D tackle, and then Zachary Crothers, the edge rusher, number 5. He looked really good, and I love the depth of our edge rusher room. I mean, Jaden Moore's not even playing right now, but he's supposed to be a starter. You got Blaine Spires, you got Jimmy Scott, you got Joey Zielinski, you got Crothers, who I didn't think was expecting to play, but he's looked amazing. He's looked like the best edge rusher, at least for passing downs.
Well, look at this. Like they stopped that Central Michigan running attack that destroyed San Jose State on the ground to 1.3 yards per carry.
Also, our starting cornerbacks were out. Tamon Lynham got hurt. Rashad Battle got hurt. Our cornerbacks were Sean Lee, a true freshman, and you got Shadarian Harrison, who's a redshirt freshman. So our 2 deep for the cornerback was not our starter, so they passed a little bit on us, but that's because our 2 starters weren't in. I like this team this year. I think would be good, but the thing I was most encouraged about was the D-line, especially the edge rusher room. Because the years before, we had Deion Hayes and
The Narduzzi defense is completely reliant because they don't play they don't give the corners a lot of safety help. So you got to have a pass rush and you got to be able to stop the run.
I mean, we haven't had a pass rush. Like last year was our linebackers. Kyle Lewis, Rasheed
right?
Biles.
Who's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Kyle Lewis.
But like we didn't have the we had young guys like Sincere Edwards and Jimmy
That was
Scott.
a big loss.
That was a big
Yeah.
loss. He's a talented player. He went to UCF, but it's like I just think we haven't had that edge rusher room like we should have the last couple of years before, like we won the ACC championship in 2022 with Patrick Jones. I'm trying to think of. I can't pronounce.
He got drafted in
Was it
2021, I want to say.
Who was 2022? Was it-
Habakkuk Baldonado,
Yes.
Kalijah Cansey.
Kalijah
Those were like the
Cansey.
2 big names.
And then
Jalen Twyman.
Jalen Twyman.
Jalen
He was
Twyman.
2021.
That was also 20.
But yeah, like we haven't had since 2020, 2021, 2022, we haven't had that edge rusher room like we should have, like all Americans or not even all Americans, but like all AC performers. I think this year could be different. I like the depth, but that's my main thing about the Central Michigan game was the edge rushing room.
Nardu, I gotta give all props to Narduzzi at the end of the game for he helped me out. He helped this guy out.
Oh, yeah.
He had to make sure he covered the spread with Mason Heinschel at the end of the game.
He looked good, by the way.
So I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize about do you know if the corners they're expected back?
They're expected to be back.
Was it they left the game or they just didn't play?
I think Rashad Battle was out, and then Tamon Lyman played, but he got hurt that game, so they ruled him out
Okay.
against Central Michigan. Because Rashad Battle got hurt week 1 against Duquesne.
And I kind of want to talk about Sean Lee, the true freshman. Like, he's a guy that was also listed as a quarterback coming out of high school, and I want to say he was ineligible his last year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He was.
So seeing him already have a major role in this defense, even with injuries, he's still like the third or fourth option if everyone's healthy. That shows a lot about this kid who again, he missed the entire year of high school. So I mean, I'm very excited to see what he can do. I mean, we know the Pitt cornerbacks have been up and down. Honestly, I think 2023 was the most matured out of that group,
it was
the worst, which is weird. But like, I mean, I'm very interested to see how this kid does, and that's something to watch. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of these true freshmen getting playing time.
Yes.
Turner, Turner, the running back. Even we saw Mason Heinschel, which I'm shocked we saw him this early, but like that's also something to keep your eye out for. So
I think next year he could not. I love Eli. I'm a huge Eli Holstein fan, but I think Mason Heinz. I can't pronounce his name. What is it?
Heinschel.
I think it's Heinschel. Yeah.
Heinschel. I think he'll be really good.
I agree. He pushed Julian Duggar basically out of any
and
sort
I think
of
Julian
job.
Duggar's good. I mean, you look at with the run. I mean, we're going to use Julian Duggar this year.
I don't know how he's not starting over there at Washington State.
Yeah, that's weird because they're not
terrible.
Yeah, they aren't good.
There was they put them on, and there's like a few games on. I'm like watching Washington State on the CW, and it's like, where's Julian Duggar? But
they barely beat Idaho.
Yeah.
The Vandals.
And then they got whooped, I think, after, right? Or
they won. They won both games.
No,
they did.
They dominated. They beat San Diego State by 15.
The first game was close, but they were like heavy favorites, and it was a close game. But going back to Pitt, I was talking about the Pitt team. The receiver room, I really like a lot.
Yeah.
With Blue Hicks, you got Raphael Williams, you got Kenny Johnson. You got Deuce Spann. I mean, that receiver looks pretty good.
Yeah. There isn't like one big star.
Well, Poppy Williams so far has had the most production.
Guys.
I like Kenny Johnson more than I like Poppy Williams.
100%.
Kenny Johnson, I feel like he has to take that next step.
He does.
He's been the guy that everyone's been like looking for him to be the guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have like a star receiver. But they have a lot of guys who can contribute.
But he has the intangibles.
And that's okay. And,
also, our running back depth is like weak right now. Like I love Goff, I love Reed, and I love Turner. But the issue is like they're all small backs, and I think Turner and Goff will be really good. And I think Reed obviously is like one of the best ACC running backs and one of the best running backs in the NCAA.
I get very nervous about Pitt when they get inside the 10 because Cade Bell likes to do a lot of fancy stuff and throwing the ball, and it's partially it's because of their scheme, number one, because they don't run the ball under center, which I complain about that all the time. So I'm not going to get into that, but they don't have the backs, like you said, to be a goal line backs. They don't have that.
I just think this run game is going to be explosive, and I think they're not going to be able, like, I don't know, they're going to get big runs, and then that's about it. I don't know.
They're not going to get the 5 to 10 yard runs that you need.
And that's what you're hoping to get with Rodney Hammond. Like last year, like I was hoping to see a little bit more, but obviously stuff happened with the suspension. He didn't look very good, and then he transferred to an FCS school. Yeah. So, like, that's what you're hoping to get out of him, and I had really high hopes for him. I still think that he was a talented back, but obviously there's stuff with the offense. But that's something you were hoping to get. Like, you were kind of hoping, maybe he can stay. Maybe it was the right decision for him to leave just because of the school that ended up getting him was nowhere near what Pitt's going to be. But, I mean, that's something you're really missing with Rodney Hammond, and they didn't really seem like they tried to get that in the transfer portal, or maybe they did and they whiffed. Who knows? So.
I think the biggest issue on this Pitt team is the O-line. I think last year when what's his name, the left tackle,
Branson Taylor.
He got hurt. And
it hasn't been good since.
He got hurt last year, and our line just collapsed. We had to move everyone last year, and then this year I think we got new guys. We got a Michigan transfer and Jeffrey Percy, and you got Keith Gavea, the guard, as our two new starting guard, and you have B.J. Williams, and you have Ryan Baird, then you have Lennon Cooper as the returning. I think they're all solid, but they need a show that the O-line's good, because against Duquesne game, again, our run game's going to be explosive. I don't think it's going to be dominant like it should, but like we'll see. Like in past, it's been dominant, but I think the biggest question is O-line. this year.
And you never we want the O-line to be strong, but that's like the game is won at the line of scrimmage.
Well,
so.
just looking at this game, like on paper, what West Virginia does good, like the thing that they do good, like running the ball and using Nico Marchiol, like his legs and everything. Pitt, in theory, should that's Pitt's strength as a defense, just stopping the run. My concern is if it's a close. I think it's gonna be close still. I think Pitt's the superior team, but it's gonna be a raucous environment. It's a rivalry game. 5 minutes to go. Can you rely on Desmond Reed and that O-line to create space? Because, like you mentioned, they're smaller backs. You got to create these holes, and they're not these power guys who can just. I think Desmond Reed's trying to prove that he can be, and Jules Goff to a greater extent. He's a little bit bigger.
He's bigger. He's bigger than Reed.
Yeah, but you still want to see. You still got to see from him that big. Like if it's short yardage situation, 3rd and 2, can Pitt get this first down? And for if Reed's in and they cover the outside, because Reed loves to run from the outside. Obviously, he wants to use his speed. If that's covered, can they get that first down running the ball? I think that's going to be a big key. But on paper, it looks like Pitt should has the advantages. I wouldn't say easy win because just all the like you're in Morgantown, and it's going to be a crazy environment. And Pitt just they never make it easy, but it will be. It's adding up for them. It's adding up for Pitt. Nico Marchiol, obviously, he came in when Pitt played in Morgantown a couple of years ago, and he didn't do good, but Phil Dracovic was just on another level awful.
Yeah.
And so West Virginia was able to win.
He did play that game, didn't he?
Yeah, he came in. He was in a lot of the game.
Garrett Green got hurt, I think.
Yeah, so he doesn't strike fear into my heart, really, or probably Narduzzi's, but it's just one of those games where everything looks like it's on Pitt's side, but I feel like something's going to happen. So can Pitt get a big first down to kind of ice this game running the ball? Because I think at some point on a 3rd down, the receivers might be covered. Can they get that big first down to kind of seal it and kind of run the clock
I
out?
will say this, though, because West Virginia has had huge losses in the offense. They lost a receiver in Jaden Bray, and they also lost their best player on that team, Jaheim White, running back. They lost
for the season.
For the season.
Yeah.
They're both for the season. They lost their best player on that team. The reason why they could have been good is Jaheim White. He was one of the only returners last year who stayed because they 81
gave Pitt
players.
issues last year.
Yeah, they lost C.J. Donaldson, which now is going to be huge.
I didn't even realize he was at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I watched that
Ohio
Texas
State.
game. I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah, he's the one his freshman year had.
He's a solid.
Was listed as a tight end in high school. Changed running back and had he was a beast. He always
man.
killed
He's
us
a
at Pitt.
beast.
He's a good back,
Yeah.
but Jaheim White was their best player. He was their guy, and now he's injured. So now we got to expect they got good players. They got Chase Wilson, the linebacker. He's from I'm trying to think Colorado State.
One linebacker, did you see? He's questionable though.
That's
transfer
Reed Car. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I saw he was questionable.
Yes. But the linebacker Chase Wilson, he's very good. He has 3 sacks already this year. He has an interception and he's a forced fumble. He's actually top 5 in the country in sacks.
Interesting.
So he has 3 sacks this year. And then you got Cam Vaughn, their best receiver, who went to Jackson State last year, had 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. This year he's looking really good. I mean, they should be solid. They're not the best team ever, but Pitt should win this. But they got good players. And the issue is that you don't know. You just don't know what the backyard brawl. And they also have a safe nickel corner in Fred Perry. Last year at Jackson State had 110 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Great player. They have good players on the team. I think the issue is their depth and the players behind them. I think Pitt has way better players around them with star players instead of West Virginia. So I think Pitt should win easily, but it's the backyard ball, so I think it'll be close.
And honestly, if West Virginia wants to win this game, in my opinion, I would start Henderson at quarterback. I feel like he moves the ball better. He has SEC experience. And he has SEC experience as a starting quarterback, even though it was brief.
Well, I just have a question. Was Henderson the guy? Because I watched that Ohio game, getting the scouting report. Well, not really, but was he the guy they put in for a brief time?
Yes.
And then he sunk, I guess, or didn't do anything, and they put Marchiol back in.
Yeah. But to me, I think you have to go with the veteran quarterback. Obviously, maybe you want to see if Marchiol can develop, but in this day in college football, that's not really a thing anymore. You're grabbing transfers left and right, and with Rich Rodriguez, I think he wants to win this game. I would not be shocked if Henderson
really
does
wants
play
to win
more
this
than
game.
Markio. Yeah. So
Rich Rodriguez really wants
Yeah.
to win
This
this
is
I would not be.
about the future.
I would not be.
This is
yeah.
the Super Bowl. This is their
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
If Rich Rod won that game in 2007, I think they would win the national championship, and I think he'd been coaching for like 10
I mean, and
years.
it took him
Yeah.
almost 20 years to get back to this point to have this opportunity.
I mean, he went
so
to
we live
Michigan.
rent free in this guy's head.
That is true.
But that
Yeah.
makes him dangerous. That makes this
doozy.
entire situation, this entire West Virginia team, dangerous.
And that's why they should start Henderson. He's the more experienced guy. I think he gives them the best chance to win now. That could be a hot take. I think Markio has some talent. He was a 4-star recruit, but at the same time, I just don't trust him moving the ball.
Henderson from? What's his first name?
Jalen
Jaden
Henderson.
Yeah, he was Fresno State and Texas A&M.
I don't know where he's from, but like,
But I don't know.
I think
I don't know
Markio is
exactly.
more experienced than Henderson, right?
No.
At least at a Power 4
I mean,
level.
Power 4 level.
Yeah,
yes.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, but
But I just think it's a tough. It's like a situation if you have multiple quarterbacks, you don't have one. You
yeah,
don't really
exactly.
don't have
That's their case.
I'm just
yeah.
very high on this team. I like the team. We've got freshmen that could play right away. We have experiencing players like Rasheem Biles, Kyle Lewis, and also the most underrated linebacker, Braylon Lovelace. I think he's just like Servastier Dennis.
Braylon Lovelace,
Yeah.
Leechburg. Leechburg
I
legend.
think they're very
Braylon
comparable.
Lovelace.
Lovelace is a really good player, but he's the third linebacker because we have Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles, like one of the two best linebackers in the country. And then you also got our safety room, underrated. You got Cruz Brookins, who's, I think, should be really good this year. And then you also
We got to be honest, he looked kind of bad. Number 12, right?
Yeah, number 12.
Yeah, he
but
was not impressive.
I'm very high on him.
I
He's
am
been,
too.
he-
Yeah.
Last
They've
week.
said he's going to be really good. And then you also got experience, like him starting for the last, like, I swear, like 3 or 2 years, Javon McIntyre, who's solid. I like this defense. You got young players, you got experienced players, and on offense. I mean, Holstein's in second year. He got to show it. He's looked about the same, but it hasn't been Power 4 teams yet. I mean, he has the talent. We'll see. And Desmond Reed. It's Desmond Reed. He's going to give you probably 1,000 yards and 500 receiving yards and be a good kick returner. I don't think he should be returning, but he is right now. And same for Kenny Johnson. I think our offense will be solid. I'm very high on this team. It'll be interesting. But any other thoughts?
I mean, this has
Yeah.
to be a team that at least competes for an ACC championship appearance.
Yes.
Like they have to at least be in it.
Well, okay, here's what I'll say about this game. I don't know all the players as well as you guys do. But I look at this from the perspective that this is a bad spot for Pitt. No question, they are the better football team top to bottom. But in West Virginia, this is a bad team. They're going to be at the bottom of the Big 12 with Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State they're in the basement.
Nah,
by
I think
itself.
West Virginia's better than Oklahoma State.
But like
That's
I'm
what-
saying, they're
yeah.
Then the tier,
those
yeah, I understand what you're
teams.
saying.
So, and the reason they're bad is because we see this all the time. We saw it with we're seeing it with North Carolina. We saw it at Colorado. Even though they kind of had some success, they turned the entire roster over. Basically, the entire roster over, and they just don't. And now you lost your starting running back. You don't know who your quarterback is. It's a bad team.
It's a bad team.
It's a very bad team. However, I was telling Joey this before the podcast. Pitt, to me, is a team. They're capable of beating anybody, but they're also capable of losing to anybody.
Western Michigan.
Let's
yeah,
not
that's
talk
it.
No one
about
talks
that.
about that team could have been easily in the playoffs if the safety against Miami should have been a safety, by the way. And then the Western Michigan game.
But the reason I say that, well, generally, I don't trust Narduzzi situationally, and I never loved his defensive scheme but against a team like West Virginia who doesn't have strong quarterback play, you expect the defense to play well and to stop the run. I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. The issue that I look at is from the offensive standpoint. We talk about Eli Holstein and Cade Bell and play calling throughout the game, but especially at the end of the game. There are times with Cade Bell, I think he's creative, but I think we went from Pitt used to be culturally a hard-nosed running team, and Frank Cignetti, it was too conservative, and then they completely went the complete opposite with Cade Bell. And Cade Bell, to me, at times, is just very reckless. We saw it in the Central Michigan game. They're running the ball fine. It's 4th and 3. Just run the ball. They're too quarterback reliant, and Holstein to me is too reckless. And I think with Holstein being reckless and Cade Bell being reckless, the offense makes me nervous. It's talented. They put up points, but they make me nervous. They're both reckless, and situationally at times it makes me nervous. And you can't, in a rivalry game, you can't turn the ball over and have bad play calls. So I think West Virginia is going to give everything they have because this is their Super Bowl, especially with Rich Rod. And they're going to win 2 or 3 games, right? And so, most teams win 2 or 3 games. You're not going to win 1 game. So, this is a game West Virginia is going to go all out to win. And it's a bad spot for Pitt because West Virginia just lost to Ohio. So if the coaches in practice were already going to give the players a hard time, they're going to go 100% in practice. It's even going to be even more after losing to Ohio. Now, Ohio is one of the better MAC teams, but still, it's losing to a MAC team. That's very bad.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
So it's a bad spot for Pitt. And so I think Pitt's going to win. They should find a way to win this game. There's no excuse. The pressure is on Pitt, really. And there's really no excuse for them to lose this game. But as far as looking at the game perspective, I know West Virginia is a 7.5 point favorite or dog. I feel comfortable taking West Virginia here to keep this a 1-possession game and to maybe pull up an upset, but to win or to lose, but at least lose by 3 or 4 points. I think this is going to come down to the end of the game. I really do believe
this is maybe the biggest game of Eli Holstein's career so far. I mean, other than the SMU game, and even just taking in, it's going to be the greatest environment he's been in as a starter.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the SMU game, they didn't have as many people, but it was nighttime. It was a huge game at the time for both teams. Yeah, but this one, just as a rivalry, is different. I want to see something from him. I want to see, because we've seen in the first 2 games we saw last year, he has a spout of recklessness, like you said, in him, where there's a handful of passes during a game where it's that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Can he limit that? He really has to limit that in this game because the way West Virginia stays in this game is getting turned
They're going to be very, because they know that Holstein can be reckless, so they're going to be very conservative and rely on their defense to win games and hope that their offense can manage the game well and not turn the ball over. That's how they're gonna try and win this game.
I think they're gonna blitz a lot.
Right, and they want to force mistakes. They want to force mistakes.
Well, with West Virginia, I mean, they got 3 interceptions against Ohio. This is a team that can force pressure to cause mistakes. And Holstein, I love him. I think he's a hard worker, but it seems like he throws a pick once a game, and usually whenever he throws a pick, it's either deep in his own territory or it's a pick six, something to that regard.
There's a stat I think. This year, last year he threw 5 picks in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean
5 picks in the red zone.
That's where West Virginia can get back into this game. If Holstein does not turn the ball over, Pitt will win by at least 2 touchdowns. I have no doubt about that. But if Holstein does throw a pick in his own territory, that's when the game becomes close. We saw the Central Michigan game where Pitt was rolling. It was 24-3, and then he made that one bad decision. All of a sudden, Central Michigan opens up the second half with the ball, and even though they didn't score in the first possession, they still made it a 1-touchdown game. If Holstein doesn't throw that pick, he at least makes it 27-3. Pitt might win by 40.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in consideration. So.
Yeah,
it'll be a fun one.
It's going to be fun, and another thing. Now, this may be the pressures on West Virginia. They want to win this game because when they look at the rivalry for the next 3 years, fans are going to say if Pitt wins, well, we won 3 out of 4. So if you win, you split, right? And it's not as bad of a look for West Virginia. But it's a hatred on both sides. But I really think this means so much to West Virginia.
Well, and for West Virginia, like you were saying, they might only win a hand. I saw that West Virginia fans on social media saying if we win one more game this year, I want it to be Pitt. I don't care if we lose every other game. If we got to beat Pitt, and so there's a lot of pressure on both teams.
That is the attitude. That really is
for different reasons.
West Virginia also got Rodney Gallagher.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Warren Highland.
Yes.
We don't know if he can be good just because of the situation
seems like
in. I think he's talented. We just don't know because he's not going to get
thrown
the ball.
He's a receiver, right?
Receiver, slot receiver.
He's like a gadget kind of guy, though.
He's a gadget, but he's a good athlete. He's a good athlete.
Yeah.
And I think he should be good, and He hasn't has the consistency of being like a top receiver, but he should be a solid receiver for them.
But I do think we came up to a good conclusion, though, that they're going to try and force Pitt to make. That's how they're
Right.
going to have to win this game.
That's absolutely
because their
is.
offense isn't going to do a whole lot. They have to win the turn. They have to force turnovers and have Cade Bell do some stupid stuff on 3rd and 4th down to win this game.
Who's their defensive coordinator? Zach? Is it Zach?
I'm not sure.
Anyway,
Who, Pitts?
no, West Virginia.
West Virginia. I do not know.
I think it was the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma last year, or co-defensive coordinator, and they hired him for big
Interesting.
money. So
Well, Brent Venables is a good defensive mind, obviously.
You gotta have the players. I think they have better. I think they're better defensively for sure,
West
but
Virginia?
I still think they're not that great defensively either. I think they're just really poor offensively when Markiel's in the game, because I just think he's I think we kind of know what he is. I don't think there's anything you're gonna get out of him more, but I just think if the O-line holds up for the most part, and Holstein doesn't make bad decisions, they should win this game. I'm not going to say they win by 2 scores if that happens, because I'm just very Narduzzi. I get worried, and but I do think this is a game Pitt should win. If we go Saturday at 7:30 and we're watching Panther Lair post game and West Virginia won the game, that's going to be that's
And
going to be really.
Joey Delie.
I'll be
Joey
very
Delie
sad.
Yeah,
live
bad.
commenting.
I'm calling it. Pitt will win 31-21.
All right.
Interesting.
Do you all have a score?
I don't have a prediction.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
say-
predicting.
Pitt will win 24. It's going to be a weird 24-16 game. Very weird score.
Maybe
But weird things are
78-2.
going to happen.
I think they
Yeah.
win by a touchdown and West Virginia covers at the 7.5, or they just win by a field goal or something. I just
I'm
don't
going
think
Pitt 20, West Virginia 17. That's where I'm
That could
going.
very well happen.
that's the game West Virginia.
But,
West Virginia wants a low-scoring game,
Right.
For sure.
I'm not saying West Virginia can't win. I think they can. I think it's
Oh,
possible.
absolutely. In a game like this, absolutely.
I just think West Virginia's team is not that good compared to Pitt. And yes, Pitt might not be that good either, but I just think Pitt. I'm very high on Pitt's roster. I'm biased, yeah, but I think this Pitt team could be really good, and we'll see though.
But you have to play the game. You have to not make mistakes, and you're playing against a team that thinks this.
I'm
is
always
the Super
worried
Bowl,
about big
so.
plays too. I saw too many in the Central Michigan game. I know
Central
there's
Michigan,
injuries.
for a team that doesn't pass, when they passed, they were able to pass.
Well, that
the
was
ball.
because that's all they could do.
Yeah,
Really,
they
because
couldn't-
Pitt put their full focus on stopping the
yeah,
run.
they did not care.
because they.
about
But
the
that's
pass.
generally
But
what they
their
do.
receivers beat our corners.
They did, yeah. That's which
But
is an issue.
I understand it was maybe the too deep kind of backup situation, but you don't want to see that
Right.
at all. Anyway,
Well, here's some extra motivation for West Virginia too. I've said this a couple weeks ago. I bet you with McAfee is part of their big guy now in College Game Day that they're going to go to West Virginia for College Game Day, and they were scheduled to.
When?
They were scheduled to go.
Oh
this
yeah, I
week,
know they were supposed to schedule this week. Yeah.
and they lose to Ohio. They say
you're done.
we're not going.
You're
We're
done.
going to Georgia or Tennessee
Georgia
or
versus
wherever.
Tennessee, yeah.
And so that's extra motivation there. That's very disrespectful toward West Virginia.
Yeah.
But it's not it's fair. You just lost to
but you
Ohio.
can
Lost to Ohio.
use that as motivation.
That's true. That's true.
So it'll be very interesting to see. I don't know any other things we want to discuss. Any college football games on tap?
Well, there's some games that are going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what Notre Dame looks like. It's a big game for Notre Dame against Texas A&M because can't have 2 losses with the schedule they have coming up because they have a lot of favorable games. Obviously, they play Pitt later, but and they play USC. But other than there's not too many opportunities for really marquee wins for Notre Dame. So I'm looking at them. They haven't won a game yet. Technically, their own one. And Georgia, Tennessee. I want to see what Gunnar Stockton looks like. I want to see what Joey Aguilar looks like against that Georgia defensive front, whose Georgia linebackers, look like the best since 2021 with that all the Philadelphia
Kobe
Eagles.
Dean.
Yeah, the Kobe Dean.
I'm trying to think the other ones. There's a Jaguars.
Walker.
He's the edge rusher.
Yeah.
Trevon Walker. There's a Jaguar linebacker that plays for them. It was
This
who is- I don't
Gunnar
remember.
Stockton, I don't know what. They think that because the walk-on thing worked with what is his name, Stetson Bennett. That's just you can just get a walk on. Like you're Georgia.
Well, he's not a
Well,
walk
to be
on
fair,
there.
Isn't he a walk-on?
No,
He's like a high.
top
He was like a
50
high
player.
4-star, if
Yeah,
not
high
5-star
4-star.
recruit.
Yeah,
He looks like a walk-on. He don't look that
Carson
impressive
Beck
to me.
is better, and they will regret that going to that game, South Florida versus Miami. If South Florida wins, make them a top 5 team. Do not.
I have them
give them
there
top
already.
10.
We were talking. I have them already.
I
in the
think they
top.
should. I agree. They have one of the better resumes. They beat.
Oh,
By the way, Florida's overrated, but no one talks about that.
Their quarterback, like DJ Lagway, is
I like
not
Miami.
that great.
No,
I think
no.
Miami's
Like, there's a
gonna
reason why
spank
Graham
them.
Mertz was drafted, and he should have probably started the entire year.
Yeah,
I think Miami's gonna spank South Florida.
I'm
this
calling
week.
right now. South Florida's winning. I love Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck's
don't-
better than Gunnar Stockton, and
He
Jordan-
is,
Jordan
yeah.
Well, the Carson Beck thing, it just like reached its end. Like Carson Beck, just at the end, he wasn't playing as good. There was off the field. There was just kind of a relationship issue. I think it's
He's a goober.
Yeah,
That's why I don't like Miami that much, is because Carson Beck is just weird.
Yeah.
There's something about the look on his face. It's just like
talented.
He is. A couple of
not
my
a
friends,
quarterback that I'm
say that he's
interested
going to be
in.
the first quarterback in the draft.
oh my word.
I'm calling.
he's looked better than
Gunners.
most.
Yes.
Like the vast majority. Like actually, like he's looked much better than
Yes.
Cade Klubnik.
K. Kublik.
DJ
Yeah.
DJ Lagway.
DJ
We're looking for more
Lagway.
from.
He's
but-
2027 though.
But
Yeah,
with,
he is.
like the South Florida, we could talk about the we talk about the AP poll voting stuff on another show, but like they have to figure out what the criteria is for how you're ranking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's like how you've looked the first 2 weeks, who's looked better than South Florida? Maybe a couple teams, right? And they have 2 of the best wins so far consecutively. So, but they were like, oh, we'll be nice. We'll put you at 18. You know, that's like what the AP poll. So, and there's some rankings that are just like, how do you come to that conclusion? Clemson shouldn't be ranked either, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We always, for these voters, it's like preseason rankings mean like everything to them. Actually, I don't think there should be an AP poll the first 3 weeks of the season because I just
I
don't
agree.
think. I just think it skews people's perceptions of teams as you get down. You don't know what these teams are yet.
Yeah.
And these people like, oh, in the preseason I had this team ranked
Yeah.
somewhere.
Oh,
and-
Like Florida was ranked. Like there's teams that are ranked that you're like,
Yeah.
because of the hype around the program, because they're prestigious. Like it just doesn't.
Also, why isn't Vanderbilt ranked? Why is South
that's
Carolina
another one.
ranked?
That's another one.
Vanderbilt beat Virginia Tech more than South Carolina did. Why
Spanked
is
them.
Vanderbilt not ranked? Why
Yeah,
is
they
South
should be.
Carolina ranked?
That's another
The
game.
only reason why they're winning games, South Carolina, is they're special teams. It's not their offense.
Well, I think the issue with the AP people is they have these preseason rankings, which are always terrible. They always misjudge these teams. Not that it's easy to do, but then they use those preseason
That's what I'm
rankings,
saying.
Yeah.
and they like say, well,
It's
we have
sacred.
to stay close to where the preseason ranking. No, you don't. Now he's saying South Florida should be a top 5 team. That's ridiculous.
Oh, how is
That's
that
ridiculous because you can't put them over some of these teams that you know. Like
I don't know
there's-
that they're better.
Yes, we do. We
South
know.
Florida just went into the
LSU.
swamp.
You don't listen. But I
LSU
agree. I
won by
agree
6.
with your point, but you go a little overboard.
How
Is
is
my
it
point. It's overboard. But with the thing with the AP people, everyone freaks out about it. I don't give a crap about what the AP people. It doesn't mean anything because at the end of the day, the college football
Well,
playoff
it
is what
does to these
decides.
college football playoff voters in the end. They're like, oh, in
Well,
the
then they're
AP poll this
stupid.
time.
Well, then they're
that's- the whole
stupid.
thing is flawed.
I just don't care. I really don't care. So
Okay.
I don't care.
South Florida should be. They should be a lot higher.
Oh, top! They're gonna get spanked this weekend.
I'll
They're
bet
gonna
you.
get
I'll
spanked.
bet you they win.
Interesting.
They're not
You're
betting.
disrespectful to Alex Golish. You're
I don't
disrespectful
care.
to the program he's building. You're
I
disrespectful
really could care
to
less.
Byron Brown.
I could care
You
less.
didn't
And they
watch
did this
Florida
without
game.
playing an
I'm
FCS.
not into the
school yet.
little teams.
By
in
the way,
college
Florida's
football. I
overrated
don't
though.
care,
They shouldn't have
bro.
been ranked. I don't know why they're ranked.
There's another team. I forget who,
They
but
always
they
get
ranked
ranked
high
and then they
just
win,
because
like,
they
6
were a
games.
prestigious program, even though they
Ole
didn't
Miss.
do that great.
Ole Miss
Yeah,
should
that-
be ranked.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is they have an interesting game
They
against
do.
Arkansas this week, where Arkansas nobody's talking about them, but like they're an SEC team and they could give some fits. We see Ole Miss always lose a game they shouldn't. They should win,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs them. So, but anyway, it'll be interesting this weekend. There's some good game. Clemson Georgia Tech is another one where, like Georgia Tech.
The
I mean,
ACC is just unpredictable, dude.
It is.
And Clemson is so.
Clemson looks
overrated.
like what they've done the past few years instead of what people were projecting on them.
I'm calling it right now. They're still gonna win the ACC.
They always
they
find a
should.
way,
They
don't
should.
they?
They're still gonna win the ACC.
But Florida
theoretically.
State, man, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I don't see it from
No,
Clemson.
Pitt's beating them. Pitt is beating either one of the 3 teams, Notre Dame, Florida State. Actually, no. I'll
They
say
played Notre
They'll-
Dame, Florida State, and Miami.
they'll win
And
one of
Georgia
them.
Tech on the road. That's,
If they Florida State, that is now
Georgia
a
Tech.
huge
They're-
game eventually. Like
They
if
have-
Pitt's in it.
Is it Notre Dame and Miami back to back or bye
At
week?
home.
At home,
Something like that,
bias. You don't have to listen to me, but I think they'll win two. They'll either win one or they'll win two. They're not gonna go 0-3.
I agree.
I don't think they go.
I don't think they go in 3 as well.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. That's too. Let's get past West Virginia.
Yeah, well, that's
That is
what,
fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
All right. Well, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say I hope everyone understands this guy. He's against the little guy. He just made a note.
I'm gonna
He's
lead.
against
I'm
the
a
little
college
guy.
football elitist. I don't care about these teams. These little teams.
Pitt's a little team.
South Florida is.
There's levels of little teams.
South Florida should be a Power Forward program. They have
They
the
should
most
go
resources.
to the ACC.
I was gonna say the ACC makes the most
ACC
sense geographically.
Jim Phillips.
They should have went after
These conferences are all crapped up. With terms of geography, we have the
Yeah,
that
California teams in the ACC. We have
Pacific
Texas
Coast team
and
in the ACC.
They should have
who do we
won.
have in the Big UCLA in the Big Ten.
ECF and the Big
The
12.
ACC should have went after Arizona and Arizona State, and they didn't. And the Big 12 got them.
I don't.
Or Utah. They should have got Utah. They
I
should
hate
have got
where we're
Arizona. They should have got
heading.
Arizona State.
I really do.
Yeah.
They
I
should have
love-
got all of them.
I love the-
Not Stanford, not Cal. SMU's fine, but not those two teams.
I love the geographic.
I
I
do
just
too.
love
I
that
miss
more.
it.
I think everybody does, but it's just the money talks, and money's the driving force in everything.
It is.
I wish Stanford and Cal were in the Pac-12? Yes. Do I think the Pac-12 should still exist and should have
Well, it's coming
Southern
back
Cal?
next year, right?
Yeah, but it should have Southern Cal, it
It's
should have
gonna be like
UCLA,
the Mountain
Washington,
West.
Washington State, Oregon,
Yeah.
Oregon State. It should have those teams in it. And it's just a travesty what's happened to our great
I
sport.
agree. Like the Pac-12 is now the Mountain West.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
unfortunate.
mean, they're taking in all the Mountain West teams.
Yeah.
You know? So, anyway. Pitt. Narduzzi. No Narduzzi
No
special.
Narduzzi special this week, Narduzzi.
I really like. Understandably, he's not like the greatest coach ever. I think he's still a good coach, and I think he's been coaching at Pitt for a while.
The thing is with Pitt, like Narduzzi, I have my issues with Narduzzi, but the reason they've held him under contract and extended him and all this stuff is the likelihood of them finding somebody better is unlikely. So with the way he recruits, and he's been consistently bowl eligible and winning 7 or 8 games.
It's going to be tough to because
Right.
if you get some head coach that ends up being awful,
Yeah.
like that's going to set your program back. You're not going to be making as much money. It's going to be impossible to recruit in the transfer portal, at least with some high level guys. So.
But I do think like there's always just going to be a ceiling with Pitt. That's with Narduzzi.
I think he's done soon. He's an older coach. I think.
Yeah, that is
I think
true.
he'll be retiring. Like.
Well,
Well, he has a lot of money on the table still.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. All right, are we done? You done?
Yeah, I think.
We're done.
I think
Joey
we're good.
Delie, excellent.
Thank you for having me. It was
Yes,
so fun.
Joey Delie.
Funny story. I actually did not know you guys, and I found it on my TikTok.
Awesome.
And I
We're
follow-
glad.
and
We're glad.
That's
And
why you gotta follow the
And I met-
TikTok because you never know. You may end up on the podcast.
Right. If we like you,
Yeah.
you'll end up on the podcast.
And I met them in my Rogers class, sports
Roger
broadcast.
Lenhart.
Roger
Yes,
Lenhart.
shout
Shout
out.
out him. But yeah, I met these two, and I was like, and we just talked about sports, and we just got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have him back for Pitt basketball season.
Oh, yeah.
for
Yes.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, good luck to the Panthers. Good luck to the Steelers in their home opener against the Seattle Seahawks.
that's a tricky game.
That is. They're
is.
both very tricky games. So we'll see what happens. Hail to Pitt, Pirate Peyton, Nate Schivins, Jake Bell, and Joey Delie signing off. Thank you so much.